Week where the president has been taking lots of heat, as Molly's been reporting, from both Republicans and fellow Democrats over his response to the ongoing humanitarian crisis at the border. And apart from the president's appeal to Congress, even his most loyal allies are worried that his continued resistance to seeing for himself what's going on at those packed detention centers is only fueling more anger from Americans who say if the president has time for political fundraising, he should have time for the kids. Joining us now, conservative Pat Buchanan, who's also been an advisor to Presidents Nixon, Ford, and Reagan. Welcome. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you, Moma.
Let's talk for a moment about what we have been seeing this week. Have you been able to figure out why this president, who we've seen at the site of Hurricane Sandy's aftermath, and he travels to Arizona during that tragedy involving Gabby Giffords, and he's going there talking about gun violence, why he refuses to deal with the humanitarian crisis at the border when this shouldn't be seen as a Democrat or a Republican issue? It affects America at all kinds of levels.
I think the president, what he did is he made a decision on the advice of some of his staff that I'm not going to go to the border. And then, frankly, when it was quite obvious that as president he had to go to the border and address this crisis and make the case for what that $4 billion he wants, I think he got obdurate. He said, I'm not going to cave into the demands. So he goes out to Denver, he's shooting pool and drinking beer. But you're exactly right. I mean, even when you had Sergeant Crowley and the African-American Harvard professor, he holds a big beer summit. He knows about symbolism. He did it very well in Tucson at the Gabby Gifford thing. Wonderful speech. It is inexplicable to me, and frankly, as a former communications director for the President of the United States, I can't understand why he didn't call an audible and go to that border.
Well, is it a personality flaw then for someone to do something like this? Does he not like to be told what to do?
I understand that, and I understand making one decision, but when you see that the decision is flawed and foolish, and all you have to do is take the airplane down there for a couple of hours, why did he not do it? But this is really a larger question. The President of the United States, they had alert that this was coming, something like this was coming, and they still, for UMA, this has been going on for 25 years. The superpower of the world cannot even control its own borders.
I know that you feel very strongly about this issue, quite passionate, in fact. You are really concerned about border security in and of itself. The money that he's asking for does little to improve border security. And you came out this week saying that a country that can't control its borders is not a country at all. That's a very strong message.
It's Ronald Reagan's statement. A country that cannot control its borders isn't really a country anymore. What is happening to America, frankly, and happening to Europe, you've got folks coming from countries where there's repression, failed states, and the rest of it, pouring north into Europe, pouring north into the United States of America. And what I fear is going to happen in this country is the balkanization of the American nation. We were one nation, one people around 1960, and now we've had tremendous numbers of folks come in legally in immigration and then illegally, tens of millions. And quite frankly, the assimilation is not going on. We celebrate our diversity, but we're going to have to understand as Americans, you've got to have national unity. I don't see that anywhere now. And I think that's one of the problems that you're going to have if you do not get control of this border.
So where are we headed with this situation right now? Do you think the fact that even a number of Democrats are coming out and saying you're making a big mistake, not doing something about this, not going down there, not treating this as a serious problem?
Yeah, when the Democrat Henry Cuellar, I believe it was, said, this is just like George W. Bush at Katrina, Mr. President. Come down to the border and take a look at it. I'll tell you where we're headed. I believe this issue of the control of America's borders and immigration policy, legal, illegal, and how to get Mexico to protect our border as well, that's going to be a national issue, I think, in the presidential politics of 2016. And Rick Perry stepped out in front of the President of the United States this week, and I think I've heard Democratic folks say he was far better, far more decisive, and far more on top of the issue than the President of the United States.
Not great optics there, for sure. I know that we are going to have you back a little bit later on in the show because we also invited you here to talk about your new book, which is a look at President Nixon called The Greatest Comeback. I'm anxious to talk to you about that, and we look forward to that.
Be right back.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Pat.